What's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And on this edition, we're going to be talking about linebacker Kwon Alexander. I'm pretty sure many members of the Who Dat Nation have already heard that the Saints have signed or re-signed Kwon Alexander to a one-year deal. And I think everybody in the Who Dat Nation is extremely excited about this move. Look, Kwon Alexander came to the Saints in the middle of the season via trade last season, and he really did an outstanding job. And he, along with Demario Davis, became a very formidable linebacking duo. And now we know for a fact that he is going to be a New Orleans Saints at the beginning of the season. Now, there are some questions to be answered in regards to Kwon Alexander. Of course, we know that Kwon Alexander was out for the remainder of the season due to Achilles injury about 7 months ago. And we've seen footage of Kwon Alexander working out. And, a lot of people are really excited about watching this because the injury he sustained, usually guys, be out for almost a year. But in 7 months' time, Kwon Alexander is around here running drills like nothing ever happened, which really shows us that this guy was really committed to getting back on the field. But, Kwon Alexander coming back to the New Orleans Saints is a good move, especially since we had a lot of questions about the Saints linebacking crew, a lot of young players along with Demario Davis, a lot of unproven talent. But now you have Kwon Alexander coming back, and I think it put a lot of us, put a lot of our minds at ease, knowing that he is going to be opposite of Demario Davis. But, still you want to make sure that you have depth at the linebacker position. Even though Kwon Alexander is extremely talented, we know that he does have a history of being injured. And, the fact is you need depth at the linebacker position. It's good to hear that guys like Zach Bond and Pete Warner and Caden Ellis, guys like that are really stepping up. And also you have Andrew Dole, who is really doing an outstanding job too, a young player out of Michigan State. So the Saints really have some good linebackers, man, and you have to give credit to linebacker coach Mike Hodges for really coaching those guys up, no doubt about it. But, the Saints had practice today. The defense really ruled the day. It was a lot of struggles from the quarterback position from what I heard, according to reports. There were a few turnovers. Zach Bond actually had an interception at practice. Marshawn Lattimore almost had an interception before it was knocked down by Callaway. So, the Saints defense is flying around, and that's exactly what you want to hear. The fact that the defense is stepping up, and that's something that I wanted for the New Orleans Saints. Anytime you have, new offense, and by new offense, I mean when you have a new quarterback, a new signal caller, you really need your defense to step up and be the catalyst of the team. And this is what I've been hoping for the New Orleans Saints, because I just feel like it's going to take some time for the New Orleans Saints offense to gel and click and find its chemistry and find its rhythm. And you really have to count on the defense to be where they need to be. You have to count on those veterans, putting those young players in position to succeed. So I really like the fact that the defense is really stepping up, because the defense is really going to need to really step up in the regular season until the offense actually finds its mojo. But it's going to help the defense when Kwon Alexander does come back. Now, I don't know how close to 100% he is. I mean, he's looking like he's running around, but we see highlights. I say this all the time here. Highlights are, pinpointing your best moments, So hopefully he's at 100%. And until he actually gets to 100%, if he's not, I mean, it's good to know that you have some young linebackers out there that are really picking up the slack. But congratulations to Kwon Alexander. He's definitely needed in the New Orleans Saints locker room. His energy, his confidence, the teammates of the New Orleans Saints, they love him. When he got re-signed, I mean, everybody that I've seen that was a member of the Saints were extremely excited about it. And that just goes to show you the type of player and the teammate that Kwon Alexander was in a short period of time he was in the New Orleans Saints locker room last season. But I would love to hear from you all. Love to hear what you all have to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and start with 504. 504 says, TJ, the media doubt us, but, bruh, the Saints going to be a problem this year. Who that? 11-6. Yeah, man. I mean, look, they have a right to, question the New Orleans Saints because the New Orleans Saints all these years have been led by Drew Brees. And now that Drew Brees has retired, the narrative is the New Orleans Saints go as Drew Brees goes. And now they have that in their minds because they haven't seen this team over the last 3 to 4 years win games in spite of Drew Brees. So I can understand that. But I'm not really concerned about what the media is thinking about with the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints have to go out here and they have to prove that they're worth the price of admission. They gotta prove that they're worth that primetime slot that they have, those 5 primetime games that they have. So, I mean, the media is going to talk. The media is going to continue to put narratives out there because that's the way they do it. They want to create these narratives so individuals can come back and get their feedback and see what they have to say about, the Saints or any other team out there. So, look, they got to go out there and they got to perform, okay? And honestly, I like the fact that the Saints are flying under the radar. When the Saints have expectations, for some apparent reason, they forget that they do have expectations. So them flying under the radar, them being that proverbial underdog team, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I mean, it alleviates the pressure of being one of those top performing teams. If nobody see you coming, then, they might underestimate you. It's kind of similar to what the Bucks did last season. Everybody kind of, underestimated them because, they didn't look like world beaters the way that the media were trying to portray them. And people really didn't pay that much attention, especially when they were losing the games like the Bears and some of these other teams out there, going toe-to-toe with the Chargers. And people like, man, well, maybe they're not all that they cracked up to be. And then the playoffs hit and they just end up turning it up, and now they're Super Bowl champions. So let them fly under the radar. I have absolutely no problem with that. So, nobody can see you coming. So when you do shock a lot of people, it won't be a shock to us. Felix says, yeah, boy, in the words of the late, great John Witherspoon. Rest in peace, John Witherspoon. Kwon TJ, my bro. Yeah, man, Kwon Alexander is back. Excited about that. Ernest says, peeps. J Lash says, who that? Chris says that was a good pickup. Again, hopefully he can stay healthy. Him and Demario Davis are beast. Yeah, Chris, as long as he can stay healthy, the Saints should be fine. I mean, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is the history of Kwon Alexander injuries. Like it has absolutely nothing to do with how good he is. If Kwon Alexander can stay healthy, he would be like one of the top linebackers in football, and he probably would be one of the highest paid linebackers in football. But the best ability is availability, and I mean, the Saints actually got him for the cheap, and it had a lot to do with him having to go out there and prove that he is healthy. So if he can go out there and he can perform at a high level, stay healthy, he will set himself up for a big payday. And if the Saints can't pay him, he can go somewhere else where he can get top dollar. So this is a win-win for both parties. This is a win-win for the Saints as far as production because of Kwon Alexander, and Kwon Alexander wins because he can go out there and he can play and put himself in elite territory. It's not like a team, won't invest in him. I mean, he's still young. He's about 27 or 28 years old. So by the time next season comes, he'll be about 28 or 29, and he can still get that top dollar. Teams will still be willing to invest in him. So, it's a win-win for both parties. Charles says Kwon brings the energy we need. Yeah, absolutely. He definitely brings a swag, a confidence that the Saints need. And he brings a lot of energy. A lot of the teammates on defense feed off of him. The energy that he brings, the passion that he brings to the game, the speed that he brings to the game. And you need guys like that in the locker room. Iron sharpens iron, and that synergy that he brings to these guys, I mean, it's contagious, right? Synergy is electricity from one party or one entity to another, right? So by him bringing this energy, the other person catches it, and now you got synergy in the room, and now you're building something that's really positive, which is a formidable defense. Pammy says, hey, TJ and who that fam? What's going on, Pammy? Thank you for being here. Keen Arthur says, TJ, any word on Pulse and the Debo's progress? Well, from what I heard, Keen Arthur, on today, if you're checking out the State of the Saints podcast on a Tuesday night, the Saints had their 5th practice, and Paulson Adebo had his best practice to date. There are a lot of positive reviews coming from Paulson about Paulson Adebo, and that's a good thing. Like the fact that the first day, this was a padded practice. This was the first padded practice of training camp. And the fact that you're actually hearing positive information about Paulson Adebo on the first day of a padded practice speaks volumes, because that means that when the pads came on, we seen the intensity rise when it came to Paulson Adebo. So that's a positive thing, man. The fact that a young, hungry cornerback can come into here and make some noise when it matters most, when the pads come on, and that's what you want to hear. You know, guys making plays with shorts and shells on. I mean, come on, man. I mean, look. I mean, we go out here, we play flag football all the time. You know what I'm saying? But it's a whole different party when them pads come on, man. When them boys out there thumping. So, you know, he had his best practice to date today. AJ says, I heard Lattimore been balling out. Yeah, you know, man, Lattimore definitely been raising the intensity, and he has a lot to prove, man. This is a contract year. This is the year where he can get top dollar, and you can't be messing around here, man. He has to go out here and step up, because number one, you don't know if you're going to be suspended or not, right? So you better raise that intensity, because you're going to have this suspension against you when it comes to contract negotiations, right? Because a lot of these contracts are based on if teams can trust you and you making the right decision. So he has to put himself in a certain, I guess, you know, a certain category or whatever like that. You got to make yourself stand out. And by him having good practices, you know, I mean, it makes him stand out. And when his agent goes to the negotiating table, he can go and present him as one of the best cornerbacks in the league, not one of the best cornerbacks in the league when he feels like it. But, you know, some people are saying that Marshawn Lattimore is just getting the best of these wide receivers because Michael Thomas is not out there. But I disagree with that, man, because I've seen footage where Lattimore was getting the best of Michael Thomas at practice, you know, at training camp and stuff like that. So it's not that Michael Thomas is not out there. I mean, this guy only can line up against the individuals that are out there. But I just think that he's a really good, talented cornerback. And you know, I think there is a little bit of a Randy Moss syndrome when it comes to Marshawn Lattimore. You know, that whole Randy Moss thing, I play when I want to. I feel like it's the same way with Lattimore. You know, Lattimore becomes disinterested sometimes. You know, he gets lost in the lights when he feels like the competition on the opposite side isn't up to snuff, or he feels like they're not on the same level as him. So sometimes he gets lost in the lights. But you know, when he does turn it on, when he goes against elite competition. But if he turns it on every single game, I think that Marshawn Lattimore can be top 2, top 3 cornerback in the league. You know, the thing about it is you got to bring it consistently. And I think that's one of the issues where, you know, the NFL continuously put other guys ahead of him, because they don't want to give him his comeuppance, because he is one of those guys that turn it on and off. You know, some games he looks like he's just virtually unstoppable. He looks like the second coming of Darrelle Revis. And then the next game, he out there, you know, looking like, you know, middle of a pack cornerback, you know, out there getting roasted and toasted sometimes when he gets disinterested, you know. But as long as he stays focused, he'll be just fine. You know, he'll be just fine. I mean, the confidence is there. The skill is there. The tackling is there. The ability is there. So the only thing he has to do is go out there and execute, and he'll be just fine. Official Young Nola says, my dog. Hey, man, what's going on, man? Justin says, yes, sir. Reggie says, this energizes the bunch. Offense will be okay. Defense has to carry the team 3 seasons. I don't see this changing. You know, I feel like the defense definitely has to carry, you know, the offense a little bit. You know, I just feel like the defense just has to step it up. And honestly, there's no excuse for the defense not to be good. I mean, this isn't like one of those Saints defenses of old, you know, when they change coordinators like a person changed their draws. You know, this is a team that has the same defensive coordinator for the last 4 or 5 years. So you actually have a defensive coordinator that knows his players, and the players know their defensive coordinator. They know what he wants. They know where they need to be. They know what is expected of them. It's not like they're learning a whole different defense. This is the same defense. So there's really no excuse for these guys to not go out there and perform. They have some of the best coaches in football. You got Ryan Nielsen, who is the best defensive line coach in football, in my opinion. You got Mike Hodges, who learned, you know, under Mike Nolan, and, you know, in Dan Campbell and all these other guys, you know. And then you have Chris Richard, who was a well-respected guy in the secondary and a guy that also was an assistant defensive coordinator. So the Saints basically got 2 defensive coordinators, helping to coach this team right now. So there's really virtually no excuse for this team not to have a really good defense. There's no excuse for these guys to not be able to get to the quarterback. There's no excuse for these cornerbacks not to be able to get coverage. And there's no excuse for some of these young players not to be able to step up when you have arguably one of the best secondary coaches that the NFL has seen in the last decade and a half in Chris Richard. So this is a recipe for success. The only thing that can stop the New Orleans Saints defensively is the New Orleans Saints. Them starting slow. I feel like the Saints defense starts too slow in games. The first half of the games, it seems like they start slow. Then all of a sudden they go to the locker room and they look like a completely different team. I don't feel like you need to wait in order for you to go out there and perform. I think that you don't have that utility blanket of Drew Brees, where if you start slow, Drew Brees can erase a deficit like that. He can come in the second half, start cooking, and all of a sudden the defense can kind of, go out there and find their footing. You can't afford to do that because you really don't know what these other guys can do. I mean, you have Taysom Hill. If he was to be the starting quarterback, he's not proven that he can orchestrate a comeback. You have Jameis Winston, who has had some starts and has had a few comebacks, but not to a point where he has shown that he can actually lead a team. This defense has to be the catalyst of the New Orleans Saints. This has to be one of the first times that this has happened under Sean Payton's coach team. They have to go out there and they have to perform well defensively, because if they don't, then I'm afraid that some of those games where Drew Brees can bring them back, those other quarterbacks are going to have to learn how to do that, especially when they're learning a new system. So the defense is definitely going to have to step it up. Inevitable says this D is slowly getting better, adding these under the radar pieces. Brian Poole is really, really good in the slot. Yeah, he is. He's really good in the slot, no doubt about that. Prince Amukamara, who they signed, is a really good, solid tackler. He's shown that he can do some work on the outside. He's a big physical guy who can match up against some of those bigger wide receivers. Not the fastest cornerback in the world. He is susceptible to get beat at times, but he can put hands on you and he can kind of bully you. He reminds me a little bit of Xavier Rhodes. That's who he reminds me of. A guy that's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's a little bit bigger than most cornerbacks that you actually see. And he can go out there and he can put those hands on those wide receivers and, knock them off their route. And also, like you said, Brian Poole, who is a solid tackler. You got Lattimore, who's a solid tackler. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's a solid tackler. P.J. Williams, who's one of the best tacklers, if anything you can say about him. So the Saints actually have some solid tackling guys in the secondary. So there's no excuse for the secondary not to be formidable this season. And then you add that Chris Richard is there, to try to teach that intensity, and a lot of these guys in the secondary have been talking about how different he is from Aaron Glenn, how Aaron Glenn is a little bit of a teacher. Chris Richard is a little bit hands-on. He teaches technique. He's up there getting into, the chest of those cornerbacks to try to demonstrate what they need to do when they're going up against some of these wide receivers. So this is a plus for the New Orleans Saints, and I feel like some of that intensity that they're probably going to be they probably missed over the last couple of years, not the knowledge, because Aaron Glenn did a really good job teaching them, but the actual, hands-on approach that sometimes guys need. Sometimes you have to demonstrate. You got to show these guys better than you can tell them. And by him going out there being handsy and being hands-on, I think it's going to help some of those younger guys understand what needs to get done. I think that's a good approach for a guy like that. Sometimes you need that. Chosen says, glad to see you here, Jerry. Giving a shout out to Jerry. Chris says, need the same pass rush again. No, I disagree. They need to get a little bit more of a pass rush at times. Sometimes like that pass rush get a little bit lost in the lights, so to speak. Cam Jordan didn't really have a good solid season last year. It was kind of below average. You had guys like Marcus Davenport, who was missing in action. Even the thing that he did well over the last couple of years, which is stopping a run. He took a step back last season. And if it wasn't for Trey Hendrickson, I don't think you would have had that much production when it came to the pass rush. You got to get these guys involved, man. Davenport, we're looking for big numbers from him. Guys like, Malcolm Roach, Shai Tuttle, David Onyemata when he comes back, and also Cam Jordan, man, he has something to prove here. You got Tano Passanio, who looks the part. You got Payton Turner, another guy, you know what I'm saying, that's young. I'm pretty sure he's going to do something. So they have some young, hungry guys, but I want to see more of a pass rush. I want to see the Saints have a ferocious pass rush. I would like to see the Saints have at least two guys on the defensive line at double digits. I think that Marcus Davenport is about that time for him to enter that double-digit sack category, because it would be a doggone shame if a guy like Payton Turner comes in and has more sacks than you. I think that would basically be I think that'll just be the point where the Saints just wash their hands with Davenport. Davenport has something to prove. He looks like he got a little bit more bigger, like he got a little bit more muscle on him. So hopefully that can kind of help him to stay away from these injuries, man. Because right now, man, he's looking like, he kind of fragile. And, I don't want to say that he's a bust, because I don't feel like we can say that about him just yet. But a couple more bad seasons like that, I mean, the bust thing going to be much, much louder than it is right now. Josh says, what up, TJ and the Who Dat family? Let's get these dubs. I agree. Need these W's. TJ, I honestly think we should ease up on the free agent signing after Kwon and give these youngsters a chance. We are reevaluating their role after week 3. Yeah, but I mean, it all depends. It all depends on if the Saints feel that what they have right now is worth it. And by no means should you be like, okay, I'm just content with this. I'm going to try to build a team with what I got. If these guys are not out there proving what they need to prove, then the Saints need to go out here and try to find somebody else. And I like the fact that Sean Payton is not one of those coaches that just rest on his laurels and be like, well, you know what? I'm just going to roll with what I got. He's always constantly looking for guys that can improve the team. And that's something that I can really appreciate as a fan. Because, some guys, they get all relaxed and laid back and be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I got my job. But I like the fact that he's always bringing guys in to compete with other guys. Even guys that were starters last season. He's always bringing guys in to make it a competition. And I can appreciate that, because sometimes guys can feel like they're so good, nobody's going to take my job, nobody's better than me. You need those guys to come out there and go out there and compete against other guys to let you know, hey, man, you one step from sitting on the bench. I can appreciate that. But if they feel like they got the right 53, and they feel like they can make a 53-man roster out of what they have right now, by all means, go out there and keep what you have. But if you don't, then don't be afraid to go out there and see what else is out there. Brother Man said just a few more weeks away. Yeah, I think at this point, I think we're even excited about, preseason, because, preseason, we didn't have it last season. We didn't have any, so we know that the Cowboys, Cowboys and the Steelers are playing on Thursday, which is exciting. That means that football is officially back, the Hall of Fame game. And, I'm looking forward to that, because, watching these guys, this Hall of Fame class, it just makes me feel old, because I think this might be one of the first Hall of Fame classes I've seen where I've seen every single person that's a headline career from start to finish. Like, it's kind of weird to see that, but I'm just excited football is back, even if it is the sorry Cowboys on my television. Mr. Pop says, TJ, what do you think about the Freeman signing? Well, it's kind of funny to see Devonte Freeman in the Saints uniform, especially since, he was on the other side with the Atlanta Falcons. But he seems like he's excited to be with the New Orleans Saints, man. He's excited to be there. I can understand it from a certain standpoint. I mean, you play for the opposite team, the rival. So, of course, you always going to be talking a little bit of noise. But I just feel like some guys are just synonymous with teams, right? When you think about Devonte Freeman, you don't think about him, as a Giant, you know what I'm saying, or even a Saint. You think about him as a Falcon. So him actually putting on the Saints uniform is weird, but it just also shows you that this is a business. Guys talk all that noise, say all these different things until they get cut, and then that's why it's very important for you to never burn down a bridge, because you never know when you have to cross that thing, right? Because it also goes to show you how much Sean Payton actually respects him as a football player, because those guys were going back and forth on the sidelines. I mean, even on Twitter with Devonte Freeman, calling out the Saints, calling them ain'ts, and I mean, that just shows you right there that it wasn't anything personal, but it also shows you the passion that Devonte Freeman had as a Falcon. So if he can bring that same type of passion to the Saints organization, I think he has a chance to make the team. And this also helps Latavius Murray, makes him step his game up. Even though, I feel like Latavius Murray is one of the most underrated running backs in football. I mean, this goes to show you right here that the Saints are all about competition. So even though I feel like Latavius Murray is going to see the field quite a bit, this also gives him an opportunity to compete for a job. And also, if the Saints decide to maybe use him as trade bait, I know some people don't want to hear that, but if Latavius Murray, if a team, would be willing to make a trade with the New Orleans Saints and Latavius Murray can be in that trade, then why not, right? You know what I'm saying? Devonte Freeman isn't one of those guys that, can't carry the football to get him, maybe like 10 or 11 carries like Latavius Murray would in a game, and it's not like he can't break free or, make some people miss. And he can also catch out of the backfield. So, I mean, this is a guy who is proven. So I don't want to see Latavius Murray go, but we know that this is a business. And if the Saints feel like they can use him, as a trade bait for another team where they can actually make their team better, I say, why not? I want to see our offensive and defensive line in the preseason. Ryan Nielsen has prepared the defensive line big time. Yeah, Donald, he's done a really good job. And, there's a reason why Sean Payton threw the money at Ryan Nielsen. There's a reason why he blocked Ryan Nielsen from having the opportunity to be the defensive coordinator at LSU. It's because of how talented he is coaching some of these young, unproven guys on the defensive line. That is one of the reasons why Ryan Nielsen is forever, going to be one of those well-touted guys. That's why I feel like the next job Ryan Nielsen actually applies for is going to be a head coaching position. Is a reason why the Saints wanted to keep this guy because, I mean, he's just so talented at teaching these guys on the defensive line and instilling confidence inside of them. Going to stroll down a little bit. Going to go Chris again says, what about the big guys the Saints signed from the Chiefs last year? He's like 6'5", huge. His name is weird. Don't even know how to spell it. It's big boy there. You talking about Tano Passigno. Yeah, he's a third-round pick out of Villanova a couple of years ago by the Chiefs. And he had, I think, maybe 3 sacks last season. He's a big physical guy. Interested to see what he can do in a Saints uniform. Donald says Chris Richard is having a big impact on the secondary. Well, I don't know that so far. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he has already or not, but, we got to see when the season starts. But I do think that he will have a huge impact on those guys, no doubt about that. Let me stroll back up. Tim, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Says, honestly, TJ, I'm going to start fast and praying for Kwon's health this season because if he had and Demario Davis can stay healthy till January, we in the playoffs. I agree with that. And let me see. Franks, thank you very much for the $1.99. Says, please block Red Coat. I love Who That Nation. I don't even know who that is, to be quite honest with you, man. I ain't paying that much attention. I would have to see what he's saying. Unpopular opinion, but I think the best defensive game we played was against the Chiefs. They played almost 90 snaps on defense and only lost by 3. That's a good point right there. I mean, that shows you that there was a really good defense, a really good defensive performance, and maybe a couple breaks went the Saints' way. They would have got out of there with a victory. And honestly, man, a lot of that had a lot to do with Patrick Mahomes and his arm talent. A lot of those passes that he threw, there's only a few people in the NFL going to make some of those throws that Mahomes did. So sometimes, man, sometimes you go up against somebody, that just so, unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing that you can do. They just going to get theirs. It's almost like, Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like Jordan in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only can do so much. You're going to get his 20-plus points. Like LeBron, LeBron going, score, Anthony Davis going to score. I mean, it's inevitable. You only can do so much. So a lot of those passes that, Patrick Mahomes threw, it wasn't much the Saints could do about it, to be quite honest with you. So you only can do what you can. And the fact that they, like you said, they had about 90 plays and they still lost by 3, that speaks volumes about how good this team is. I'm hearing you, but I can't help looking at that Super Mario tape behind you. Yeah, man. That's actually Tecmo Bowl, man. That's Tecmo Bowl right here. You know, that's something I keep right here on me. So yeah, I do. I have a Super Nintendo, man. So that's just something that I just love. Little nostalgia for all the people that's viewing the State of the Saints podcast. TJ, I remember Xavier Rhodes spoke on Gardner Mike T. He talked a lot about his tactical. He is with his footwork and his running routes. He mentioned how violent he is with his hands. Called him the bully. Yeah, I mean, he is. You know, I mean, he's a big physical guy. And even Sean Payton, when Sean Payton was trying to teach Michael Thomas about how to use his hands, he said Michael Thomas like used so much force he jammed his hand. You know, and he's like, I feel it. He's like, he jammed my hand and almost dislocated my shoulder. So Michael Thomas is definitely a very physical wide receiver, no doubt about that. Saints 01 says Paulson going to low key take the number 2 spot. He's the bigger corner we got. If he gets locked in, loaded, he can lock down the position with P-Rod pushing him. I think he can pull off something. Well, you know, I think Patrick Robinson probably going to be in the slot. You know what I'm saying? He's going to probably be rotating with Brian Poole. And if Prince Amukamara can make the team, I think it would be a rotation between, he and Paulson Adebo. You know, that's what I feel like it's going to be. I just feel like the Saints are training Paulson Adebo to play on the outside. However, I think they feel like it may take him a little bit of time to get acclimated. Thus the reason why they got Prince Amukamara. So for the time being, I mean, you still got some guys that can play on the outside. You got Ken Crawley out there. I know he's not a popular name, but I mean, he can play on the outside. You got P-Rob who can play on the outside and inside. And you have Prince Amukamara if he ends up making the team. You know, that's the way I feel about it. Kevon Russell, I think that's his name out of Notre Dame. I think the Saints signed him mostly to play on special teams. So, I mean, there's some guys in that rotation, man, that can make the squad for the New Orleans Saints, and you know, guys that can play on the outside. You know, they got some guys that can, you know, do a formidable job. You know, until Paulson and Adebo gets coached up enough for the Saints to confidently put them out there. Big 4X says, TJ, if Davenport doesn't show up this year, do you think he's gone? Yeah, I do. I really do. This is a prove-it year for Marcus Davenport, man. You got to go out there. You got to play. Like you're not a rookie anymore. You're a veteran. You know, the guys are looking at you to go out here and perform. And if you have another season like you did last year, I mean, the Saints might end up cutting their losses. But it's unfortunate because I just feel like Marcus Davenport is going to be one of those guys. If he was to go somewhere else, he's probably going to end up being much better than he was in the Saints uniform, almost like Akeem Hicks was. You know, Akeem Hicks left the Saints, went to the Patriots for a year. You know, light came on, and then he went to the Bears, and now he's like one of the best nose tackles in football. You know, so I think it's going to be one of those things. Andrew Dowell been stealing the show. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of positive things about him. Sean Payton mentioned him in the interview, talking about, you know, how physical he is. He plays to the whistle blows. And this guy understands what's ahead of him, man. He understands that he has to make plays like this to make the team, you know. But I mean, we see this all the time, you know, guys who, you know, are favorites, you know, for the New Orleans Saints. I think if I can't, I want to say his name was Big Hill, if I'm not mistaken. You know, like the guy a couple of years ago, you know, I think he played in Canada, and you know, he also played in Arena League and stuff like that. And he was making plays, and you know, it seemed like he was going to make the team, but he didn't end up making it. But there's always guys in Saints camp that stand out and they become fan favorites, and we root for these guys to perform. And, you know, they be on the bubble and they make it all the way to the end. And, you know, they end up making the team or they end up not making the team. But hopefully, you know, he can be a part of their rotation. I mean, it's not like, you know, it's not possible. Cam got double teamed, sometimes even triple teamed last year. Daryl, but this isn't the first time he was being double or triple teamed. Like we can't use that as an excuse. Cam Jordan has been getting double teamed most of his career, so I can't accept that as an excuse, man. He's always found ways to get to the quarterback. You know, he had double digit sacks like 2 years in a row. You know, I can't accept that excuse. You know, I mean, this is a guy who has been the premier pass rusher for the New Orleans Saints for a number of years now. So I don't think that guys just started double teaming him yesterday. He has to find a way in order for him to get to the quarterback. Now, I understand that Father Time is undefeated. I mean, he's on the other side of 30. He's been with the New Orleans Saints organization since 2011. So, I mean, Cam Jordan, I mean, he has to find ways to, get to the quarterback. I mean, I can't accept that as an excuse. I just can't. When you are the premier pass rusher for a team, you get double teamed. You don't think Aaron Donald gets double teamed? You don't think J.J. Watt all those years got double teamed? You know what I'm saying? You don't think like some of these other premier pass rushers don't get double teamed? I mean, that's not an excuse. I mean, you got to find a way to get to the quarterback. All those years you did. So why was last year so different? Donald says Payton Turner had a great practice today. Yeah, I mean, I heard some positive things, and that's why I was saying, Donald, like for those that just tuned in, when a pass came on today, and I'm starting to hear about these young guys, that got me excited because all these veterans was talking about only thing that matters when the pads come on, and only matters when the pads come on. When you see guys stepping their game up when those pads come on, it makes me feel confident that these guys are going to give you what you need. Like anybody can go out there and jump high and run fast with shells and shorts on, but let's put these pads on. Let's play some big boy football, and let's see who is out there really stepping their game up. Let's separate the men from the boys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to hear that he had his best practice when the pads came on the first day. Bobby says, what I do like is that we have a big defensive end. Davenport, Turner, Cam, and a guy from Kansas City, Tano Passanio. Yeah, Bobby, that's true. The Saints definitely seem like they have a certain type that's on the defensive line. They like those big, tall guys that have a wide wingspan, and maybe that just helps them when it comes to the hand fight and also with the swim moves and the technique. The Saints like those big, physical, athletic defensive ends because they, it helps them, set the edge when it comes to, stopping the run, and also, when they have to blitz or they need to get to the quarterback on third down, those guys can get there. So they definitely have a type, and all these guys are equally athletic. Could have had Jair Alexander over Davenport, bro. And I'm not sure about that, man. I don't know if the Saints would have went that route anyway. I don't know if they would have got Jair Alexander or not. I would have loved for them to get him. But we all know at that particular time, we know what we thought the Saints were going to do. We thought they were going to get Lamar Jackson. I mean, I thought I did, especially since the Saints traded up. Everybody thought like they were trading up to, get Lamar Jackson, but they end up getting Marcus Davenport, which I feel like, to me, he probably would have been there when they picked him, So I feel like, to me, they lost out on the first round draft pick the following season because I feel like they would have got him anyway. That's just my opinion. I don't think that people were waiting to get Marcus Davenport. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe the Saints, knew what other teams were thinking about, but I feel like they could have got him at the position that they were in. I understand the logic, but please explain to me why we waived Lorenzo Neal Jr. I itch. Dalton, the reason why I feel like they waived him was because they felt like they had depth at that position, and they do. I mean, it's not like like they just desperate. I mean, they got Onyemata, who's going to miss some games, but they still got Malcolm Roach and Shad Tuttle and and all these other guys, on the defensive at the defensive tackle position. So it's not like they just out there struggling. And you also have defensive ends that can play both inside and outside. So it's not like, they just really just necessarily like needed him. They felt like they was getting production from these young guys. And quite honest, I think that you should be excited. The fact that the Saints don't feel like, they needed to, keep him on there. That just means that those other guys are stepping up and giving them what they actually need. Because if they weren't giving them what they need, then we probably would have seen another, defensive tackle come to the New Orleans Saints via signing, or they would have just brought somebody else in to play that position. So I think that this is because the Saints felt like they were getting the production they need from the defensive end position. And they probably just wanted to give Lorenzo Neal Jr. an opportunity to go to another team, to sign with another team, to get an opportunity to possibly make that team. I mean, the fact that they cut him so early and we're just 5 days into training camp, he can go on with somebody else, sign with some other team that probably need depth at the defensive tackle position, and he can possibly make that team. So I think the Saints really did him a favor, did him a solid on this one, because now, he can go to somewhere else. I mean, it's not like Lorenzo Neal Jr., they can't find a place for him. I mean, this guy has been a leader for the Purdue Boilermakers defense for the last 3 seasons. He was one of the best, interior linemen in the Big Ten last season. So there's a place for him, man. So he's going to land on his feet, and I hope that he does, man, because I think that he can bring something to the table. I just think that the Saints felt like they had something already there, and they didn't need his services. Who That for Life says we really need a cornerback, TJ. Well, I think they got him. I think they felt like they got him in Prince Mukamara. Like they felt like they had him, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have signed him. Okay, like let's be real about this. The Saints brought in Dre Kirkpatrick. They brought in TJ Kari. You know what I'm saying? Like if the Saints felt like those guys were a good fit, they would have signed them. They felt like Prince Mukamara was the best fit for them. So that's why they signed him. So if we may not like, we probably want some other big name or somebody else that probably a little bit more of a playmaker. But in reality, I mean, Prince Mukamara is solid. Like everybody is not going to be a lockdown corner, folks. The Saints found lightning in a bottle with Jack Rabbit Jenkins. It was just the fact that the New York Giants and him, weren't seeing eye to eye. They weren't on the same page. He wasn't happy with them. And vice versa. And he landed in the lap of the New Orleans Saints. And you had yourself stability on both sides. But it's so hard to find guys on the street that is going to give you that type of production. There's a reason why these guys are on the street. Is rather they're up there in age, or teams feel like they already have what they need. And if those guys was given anything to those teams, or those teams felt like they can get production or the type of production out of those players, then the Saints wouldn't be able to sign them. I mean, so you got to take what you can get and what is the best fit for your team. And the Saints signed Prince Mukamara because they felt like he was the best for their team. Like, he's not the only cornerback that they brought in. The Saints have brought in quite a few, and they even talked to a few guys on top of that, guys that they didn't bring in. But maybe those guys they felt wasn't giving them the type of feedback they need, wasn't, they didn't, maybe they were too rich for the Saints' blood or something else. Give these guys an opportunity. There's a reason why the Saints signed Prince Mukamara, so I say give him an opportunity. Payton isn't going to play Jameis much in preseason. He knows what he has in him. I disagree with that. You need reps, and you need to develop chemistry in real time versus opponents. Like, this isn't like Drew Brees, right? Drew Brees was with the Saints for 15 years, so you already know what you have. You got stability. You have consistency. So if Drew Brees doesn't play in preseason, it's understandable. He's going to be ready for week 1. But now you have 2 guys who have not been starting quarterbacks for the New Orleans Saints on a consistent basis are going to take over this team, rather it's Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. Trust and believe these guys are going to get some reps. This isn't like both of these guys have been here 4 and 5 years and they've been starting or something like that. If that was the case, then I can understand them being on the sidelines. But both of these guys have to develop chemistry with the rest of the wide receiver group, the running back group, the offensive line. We need to see how this is going to gel in real time. So, I mean, I don't think he has that luxury of sitting on the side. And I definitely don't feel like Sean Payton is going to give him any type of preferential treatment, even if he feels like he is the best quarterback for the job. He has to go out there and prove it. Because, I mean, the only thing we've seen was some news articles of sports reporters telling us how well both of these guys look. I want to see it in real time. I want to see it against the opposition. I want to see it against guys that don't have black and gold on and don't have a fleur-de-lis on the side of their helmet. Let's see what these guys can do in real-time situations when other teams don't have nothing to gain from this. It's not like how it was with, I hope this guy's doing all right, Keith Kirkwood. You know what I'm saying? Like, taking big shots from his teammate. Like, nah, man. For a fact if a guy got any sense at all, he's not going to try to lay the wood on his teammate because the teammate is worth, is important for them to, win games in the regular season. So, I feel like he's going to go out there and play. You got to see what you're going to do versus a team that wants to go out here and they want to make plays off of you. TJ, what wide receiver we have steps up big this year in your opinion? I think Deontay Harris might step up. I think he might have a solid season. And also, I feel like Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan is a guy who's not afraid to go out here and catch some of these passes. I hear, he makes a lot of catches in practice, and I think I can take this to the bank because, he's done this everywhere he went. So I think that Chris Hogan can be one of those guys that can have a good, solid season as well and can hold down the fort until Michael Thomas come back. Me personally, Trequan Schmidt, I think that he can make some plays. I think the chemistry that he has with Jameis Winston, I think that it should help him going into the regular season. But Trequan Schmidt, he's a good, solid player. But once again, I heard today he got hurt. So, he's gotten hurt every single season he's been in the NFL. So I don't know how much I can count on Trequan Schmidt on a consistent basis to say that he's that guy that's going to step up. We're hoping that he can step up because he's been with the Saints, the longest. In the process of elimination, he's supposed to be the guy that we can rely on. But, I like Trequan Schmidt a lot, but, those injuries are starting to add up. And, when guys start to get injured all the time, I can't, emphatically say that we can count on him. I hope he has a good season, but he has to stay healthy. Chris says, like what they did to Tom Brady in week 8 last year. They bullied him in the game 38-3. Yeah, they definitely did. That was one of the Saints' best performances I've seen in years. If the Saints bring that type of intensity, that type of passion, and they should have it because everybody is betting against them. Everybody think that they're going to fail. Everybody say they're not going to make the playoffs. Everybody feel like they're not going to be a good football team, and they have something to prove. Joyce says this is a do or die season for Davenport. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of waiting on Davenport to do something. Yeah, George, he does some things well. I'm not going to say that he doesn't. He can set the edge really well. He took a step back last season. His last couple of seasons, he was good at setting the edge because he was so athletic. But we need to see production out of this guy. We need to see him actually get to the quarterback. He can get to the quarterback, and I've seen plays where Davenport actually gets to the quarterback, but he ends up slipping. Quarterback ends up moving out of the way. Faking them out, but he has to find ways to get home. He needs to work on his technique, and I feel like maybe this is the season where he does. We'll see. Kwon is often injured. I'm not jumping up and down, but if he can stay healthy or do something worse case, he adds depth. Yeah, DLP, look, I think that we can be excited as Saints fans that Kwon Alexander is still, with the New Orleans Saints. I do agree with you. When it comes to his history of being injured, that's a little bit of a little sour grapes, if you will. But I think if he stays healthy, the Saints have one of the best linebacker duos in football. I said at the beginning of this show, Kwon Alexander could be one of the best linebackers in football. He can be up there ranked like a Warner or Bobby Wagner or some of these other really good linebackers that are out here. He can be ranked among those guys if he stays healthy. That has always been an issue. If he can stay on the field, he can be one of the top linebackers in football. He could be one of those guys that get paid top dollar to come to a team. But the reason why is because he's never healthy. He cannot sustain a level of health for a long period of time throughout the season. And now you're adding on an extra game. That's why I'm really counting on some of these other linebackers to step up because you never know when your number is going to get called. Brian says, why don't we use some guys from the practice squad on the New Orleans Saints if we have practice guys? Why don't we use them? What's the sense of having them if we're not going to use them? Well, that's the reason why they're on the practice squad. They put them on what they call a scout team, right? The scout team is basically a mirror squad. right? So if you go up against a team, let's just say they run a read option or whatever like that. That's why you have a quarterback, you know what I'm saying, who is a practice squad guy. His job is to mimic what the defense is going to see going into a game on Sunday. Those wide receivers are to mimic what they'll possibly see coming on Sunday against the other wide receivers. So that's the reason for the practice squad, and also guys that have that knowledge inside of them, just in case somebody gets hurt, they can actually be what they call activated. When you activate a guy from the practice squad, pending somebody gets injured or somebody gets cut, that gives another person to step up and comes in and fills in, and they actually know what's going on. So practice squad is necessary for teams to actually be able to practice against, and also to have depth, guys to come in, because if they didn't, then you'll be signing guys off the street that don't really understand your offensive or defensive tendencies, and it is going to cost the team in the long run. But if you add a guy from the practice squad that's been practicing with the team, that's been in a film room, that's been understanding what the coaches actually want, it makes it easier of a transition if they have to hit the field. Daryl says Trey Hendrickson got most of his sacks because of the double, triple team of Cam Jordan. Yeah, that may be true, but at the same time, I don't think that's something that we just need to raise our eyebrows and just roll our eyes about, because we've seen guys who get double teamed and their counterpart doesn't get double-digit sacks. We've been talking about this constantly, right, with Jadeveon Clowney. That's one of the reasons why I was advocating for the Saints not to want to sign Jadeveon Clowney. That's the reason why I said that. And the reason why I said that is because you played alongside arguably one of the best defensive ends in football in the past decade. This guy was getting double and triple team, and you couldn't register double-digit sacks. So no disrespect to Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan is extremely talented, but he is not better than what J.J. Watt was in his prime. So to me, the fact that Trey Hendrickson was getting double-digit sacks, I don't feel like that needs to be looked at as if, oh, man, he wouldn't have got that, because we seen Jadeveon Clowney, and he didn't get double-digit sacks, and J.J. Watt was special. So I'm not going to disrespect Trey Hendrickson, because Trey Hendrickson had a really good season. He deserved the money that he got from Cincinnati, and I wish him all the best. I hope he has another solid season. Will he have the same type of season he had last season? It remains to be seen. I mean, you are the guy right now. They paid you top dollar. They gave you a lot of guaranteed money to go there to be that anchor on the defensive line. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I do know this: he deserves his money, and he deserves all the respect that he got, and the chips that he got in the middle of the season once he was really in attack mode. What was the motive of signing Freeman? Do you think they're looking to move on from Murray? Would be a shame. I like Tay-Train. Well, look, I don't know if it's because of that or not. I don't know if it's a competition thing. Could be that. Or it just could be the fact that they can, if the Saints decide to, want to make a trade with a team, they feel like Latavius Murray would be a very attractive piece to add to the trade. So I don't know, man. But, I mean, the Saints are really big on competition. I don't think that you need to, look at this as any other thing but besides competition. The Saints normally keep like 3 running backs on their roster, the guys that, that come in, not they use 2 running backs, but they always have a third. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Devonte Freeman actually makes this team. Chris says that's why you always need the other pass rusher, Daryl. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you always need that guy that can complement another guy. What's happening, TJ? Love the stream, bro. Appreciate that, Clay. Thank you so much. Brother Man says, who start preseason week 1? I'm going to say Taysom Hill going to start. I think Taysom Hill going to start the first game of preseason. I really do. I mean, they gave him an opportunity to start on the first day, so why not have him start the first game of preseason? So I think Taysom going to end up starting. Hit the like, peeps. I agree with that, man. Like, if you like the show, if you like the State of the Saints podcast, please don't forget to hit the like button. I really appreciate that. Let me see. Passing can rotate with Cam, keep Cam fresh all season, and Turner and Davenport rotation. Watch out. We have one hell of a rotation for defensive end. Yeah, I mean, if it all comes together, I mean, it does have a recipe for success. It definitely does. But these guys have to go out there and perform. I mean, everything looks good on paper, man. But once again, we're not playing Madden here. We're not simulating games and, knowing for a fact we're going to end up making a playoff. That's not how it works, right? No matter how good it looks on paper, you have to go out there and execute. I'm not impressed about what I see on paper. I've seen teams have really good teams on paper. They look like world beaters on paper, and they go out there and look like plastic, straight up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see this all come together. I want to see this all, just mesh. I'm not impressed about what I actually see. I want to see it all come together. Who that family? Who that? Mario says CJ Gardner-Johnson for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know about that, but I think he's gonna have a solid season. It seems like he's, getting better. He's finding himself, and I think he's gonna have a really good season. I'm loving his stream, but it's hard to watch you right now with that Super Nintendo tape behind you staring at me. Well, I don't think it's staring at you. I think you staring at it, man. Kwon back. Yeah, man. Kwon Alexander is back. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Granderson has his weight at 280 pounds. His rookie year, he was 250. He worked hard during the offseason. He has a chance to make an impact. Yeah, I like Carl Granderson a lot. The small sample size that I've seen out of Carl Granderson over the last 2 seasons, anytime he comes into the game, I see him making plays. His rookie season, I can remember him being a part of that rotation. I think when the Saints had one team beat, the team escapes me, but Carl Granderson comes in and mop up duty and gets a sack. Then I'm seeing him like come in during a rotation week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He forces a fumble on Tom Brady. He also gets a sack in a couple games where he actually comes in and as a part of rotation. And even I think when he started against the Denver Broncos, he had a sack. So that's what you actually want, man. When you see little nuances of success from guys, you wonder if you give this guy a larger opportunity, you give this guy a bigger portion of the defense and give him more things to do. Will he be able to excel? And Sean Payton talked about this in a press conference. He said that they felt by signing Carl Granderson, you mentioned that DLP was about 250. They felt like he can add on some weight, add on some pounds. He had the frame to do so, and he has done that. And also, he's done a really good, solid job on special teams. Now, I know some people will probably get upset with him because that block in the back that caused Deontay Harris punt return to come back, which was a bunch of BS if you ask me. But at the same time, he's really good on special teams. Freeman will be cut right before the season opener. If he is on an active roster week 1, then his entire salary is guaranteed. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to make the team or not, but I think he has a strong chance of making it. I can tell you that. We got a week 2 preseason game, Monday Night Football against Jacksonville in the Dome. Well, that should be exciting. I don't know who's going to that game. I want to say somebody that watches State of Saints podcast and said they're going to go to that preseason game. So Kwon did a good job for someone who has a lot of injuries for 8 games with a team with a lot of pressure. Yeah, he really did a good job, but that goes to show you how talented he is as a linebacker. Then they can bring him back. I don't know exactly who we're talking about bringing back here. I would assume that we're talking about Freeman, cutting them and then bringing them back. But I don't know. I don't think the Saints work like that. I really don't. I don't think the Saints do that kind of stuff. Like, they feel like a guy is good enough to play for them. They're not going to try to shortchange the dude. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why the New Orleans Saints are one of the best teams in the league, because they're extremely honest with guys. They give these guys the respect. You don't really hear about head coaches going and telling guys that they're being cut from the team. It doesn't matter if it's it doesn't matter who's, like who's getting cut, rather it's a star player or a guy that's on the practice squad, them being brutally honest with them. I think that's one of the main reasons why the Saints are so well respected. So I don't think that if this guy is good enough to make the team, the Saints are going to allow this guy to make the team. This is the same team that, I think Emmanuel Sanders was supposed to get a bonus, right? If he had like so many yards, right? And Sean Payton realized that he was a couple yards short, and he called up a play so Emmanuel Sanders can get his bonus. So I don't feel like Sean Payton would be one of those coaches, or the Saints organization would be one of those teams to be like, we ought to owe this guy this much money if we don't cut him. I only feel like that's in like Kwon Alexander situations like that. Like, we know for a fact we just can't afford it, but a couple $1 million, like they know they can afford that. So why cut a guy? Why shortchange a guy in that regards? Hey TJ, what you doing? Another show, bro. I enjoy your show. What you think about the Locks versus Dipset battle? I didn't watch it, and I'm gonna be quite honest with you, man. I'm not a real big fan of neither one of those groups. Individually, what I'm saying, I listen to Jim Jones and Jewels and all them cats, man. But I'm not. I'll be lying to you if I say I was just a huge fan of those guys. I'm just not. I mean, individually, some of those guys' albums. I mean, I think I bought every Dipset individual album. Like Cameron, Jim Jones, Jewels. Like I bought all their individual albums. The Locks. Nah. I mean, I listened to them because of my brother, but I'm not like just a diehard fan of either one of those guys. I'm not a really big on like hip hop like that. Like I listen to it, but I'm not like one of those guys that really watch those versus battles and all that kind of stuff. I don't even be knowing they own. The only reason I knew is because somebody said, asked me to do the show tomorrow because they wanted to watch it. But I'm not really into like those versus battles. This is kind of the point, and now we have one of the other side of the line from him. Yeah, I agree. I saw my pick on the SOTS podcast a few weeks ago and realized changes were in order. So I went extreme. Ghostface Griller, best album to play when you want to end the party. Greg, thank you so much for being a supporter. I really do appreciate that. The Saints do play the Eagles this year. Yeah, I think they've been playing the Eagles almost every season. Our pass rush will be evil this year. I hope so. John says, Jerry always bringing a laugh. Jerry, my brother from another mother. I say it again. Terrence says, yeah, fly, Eagles, fly, no disrespect. Man, shouts out to Terrence. Thank you for checking in on the State of the Saints podcast. It's all love here, brother. Rep your team respectfully. WKRP in Cincinnati. Thank you very much for the $2. Says, I deserve more money from Cincinnati, too. Oh, man. If you wouldn't have went off about 30 years ago, maybe you would have. But shouts out to WKRP, man. One of the best, sitcoms on television during the 80s, man. Shouts out to it. I used to watch that show. And my mom was a big fan as well. Good one. Giving it to Greg White. Mike says the Saints signed Freeman because Ty Montgomery got moved to wide receiver. Yeah, that's true. So for depth. Tired Eyes is laughing. Chosen says Sean Payton said they signed Devonte Freeman because of Ty. Yeah, that's true. I mean, probably some truth behind that. But probably because Devonte Freeman was out there, he felt like, Ty Montgomery could get moved. Maybe that was the reason why. Would you trade Lattimore for Howard? No, I would not. I would not do that. I love what's good, fam. The truth. Thank you so much, man. Shouts out to my fellow alumni, Jackson State University, fellow alumnus. Pun kick returns as well. Wine, yeah, Juwan Johnson or Wine. I don't know if you're talking about Juwan Johnson or Wine. That's in the chat. Clay says, turned out Edwards did reinstate mask mandates. Well, I mean, they feel like that was just best for the state of Louisiana. I'm not going to get into the political thing. Get in where you fit in. It's not my call. I'm not here to be a politician. Never had aspirations of being a politician and not trying to tell people how to, run their life. I mean, those politicians, they make tough decisions at times. Sometimes those decisions be about themselves. I ain't going to lie. Sometimes, they be for the betterment of people, but it's not my job. That's why I decided to be a broadcaster and not a politician. My mom says, good night, everyone. I just finished my paperwork. I just wanted to say hello to the family. So my mom giving a shout out to everybody here. Thank you, Mom, being here. Davenport always hurt. Yeah, but hopefully this year change because we really do need him. TJ, did you see that interview that Sheldon Rankins had talking about the Saints versus the Jets team? No, I did not. I don't know what he said. Please inform me, 985 Live, what he said in order for me to comment on it. I mean, he played for the Jets. I wish him all the best. I don't really follow the Jets like that, but I hope Sheldon Rankins actually has a good, solid season, man. I still root for guys, man. Once you're with the Saints, you're always a Saint to me. So I'm always going to wish you good luck. Elite says, who that? Elite says, bless up. Chosen says, Sean Payton said they signed Devonte Freeman because of Ty Montgomery moving a wide receiver and they wanted to replace that spot. Yeah. He gives better production than Ty Montgomery would at the running back position. I will say. That to me, Devonte Freeman, replacing Ty Montgomery in the backfield is a step up. I'm sorry, no disrespect to Ty Montgomery. I think he's talented. I've seen him go for 100 yards against the Panthers. You can call it for what you want. Once again, they could have been saying Kane Coon on 3. They knew they weren't going to make the playoffs. The bags were already packed, but he did run for 109 yards against them. So you got to give him credit with that. But Devonte Freeman, when healthy, could be one of the best running backs in the league. He still has some tread on those tires. Payton says he picked up Freeman. Yeah. Because he knows him from the division and they moved Montgomery. Yeah, I guess I'm getting to the point where I mentioned Devonte Freeman. Hey, TJ, I've been listening to some good things about Warner and Camp. What do you think? I think that he's what I expected him to be. He's a guy that is a physical guy. He can turn it on and off, and I think he's going to be a really good linebacker for the New Orleans Saints as long as he stays on the field. Chris Richard has the defense right. We'll see. Big fan, love the show. Who that? Bernard, thank you so much. I appreciate that love. Some paper. Thank you very much for the $2. Said TJ ain't impressed with me. No, I'm not impressed with paper. I mean, a lot of things look good on paper. I want to see it in real time. That's what is going to get me impressed. I don't buy into when people are like such and such sign with the Jets. Ooh, such and such sign with the Eagles. Ooh, I don't buy all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I report it, but I'm not like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? It's like the best thing ever. Like, I want to see it on the field before I start getting excited about it. I'll give my opinion about it. Would I be, happy that for example, with Kwon Alexander, am I happy? Yes, but I need to see it on the field. I need to see it repeated. That's why, I try to reserve my judgment till everything comes out, and then I try to, give my opinions accordingly. 985 says smash that like button, folks. Yeah, if you like the show, man, go ahead and hit the like button. And I would really appreciate that. This offseason has been like a movie. Yeah, it has had a lot of ups and downs. And quite frankly, Casual, I think the Saints, as Saints fans, man, we needed some good news. We needed some good news. Then we need some good news, folks, because all this stuff that was going on from Lattimore, getting arrested, from Deontay Harris getting arrested, from all these different things, all these guys, that they lost due to the salary cap, and the Saints having to move this guy out and that guy out, and then you got Onyemata. I mean, the Saints, as Saints fans, we needed some good news, and this is some really good news right here. So I'm going to take this, man. When we had bombarded with bad news, man. I'm just happy to get some good news today. Kwon is a great player. If he's healthy, him and DeMario will wreak havoc. Yeah, I agree with that. J Lad said, let me buy that Tecmo Super Bowl. Nah. 95 Live. We're getting a shout out from Jerry. Damian says, damn, I didn't know we signed Kwon back. Yeah, man, we signed him a couple hours ago. It's about 11:41 Eastern Standard Time here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I say about around 6 o'clock. Tony says, what up, TJ? Thanks for being a guest on Jew Talk last week, man. Much respect. Yeah, Tony, man. Shouts out to you. Man, Jew is my guy, man. I like him, as a broadcaster. He does an outstanding job over there. I like the way that he runs his show. I like the respect that he gives individuals. I like the fact that he can remove his fandom away and also just give you all the real deal. I have respect for individuals like that. When we decide to do podcasts, we do podcasts because we love the team, but we also have to be objective about our stance. If you do a podcast and you're not willing to be critical when times, call for you to be critical, then you might as well just roll your mic up and your lighting and your webcam and go sit down somewhere, because you're doing a disservice to those individuals. You know, when people get mad at me for some of my takes and they say, "Oh, TJ, I ain't never watching the State of the Saints podcast again." First off, I would say, like, why are you broadcasting that? Just leave. But also, I mean, I'd rather you love me for who I am, you know what I'm saying, than love me for, what I'm not. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. I don't know if I said that right, or hate me for what I am, or I don't know, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm just gonna give you the God honest truth, and according to myself. Like, if I lose a person in a process for me being honest, then it is what it is. And I feel like that's the same way. And that's the way you should approach things, because one thing that bothers me about podcasters, one, when they're disingenuous. Number two, when they just knowing things for shock value. When they trying to mimic and be like somebody else, I don't like that. You might be successful, but at the same time, like, I can't give you any level of respect for that, because I feel like you're doing a disservice and you're selling people falsehoods in order for you to grow, and to feed your ego, which is not cool. Freeman low-key better than Murray, but Alvin Kamara, that's a no-no, aka a top 5 running back in the league. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but one time Devonte Freeman was one of the top 5 running backs in the league. Then he started to get hurt dealing with them hamstring injuries. I'm going to stroll down a little bit. I'm going to take a few more of your comments, then I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. How is Ian Book doing in practice? A little bit of up and down. Had a rough day today. He was the one that threw the interception to Zach Bond. So I mean, but from what I'm hearing, like, he has good touch on the ball. He's above average as a passer. I mean, you have to follow Maddie Hudak on Twitter. I mean, she's really been putting information out about Ian Book, and she's done an outstanding job. Just giving us the information that we need. So she's really been following that and really been impressed with the way he's been throwing the football. So that's positive. TJ, will Sean Payton be able to be one of the best coaches all time if he keeps the Saints a playoff team for the next 2 years without Breeze? One of the best coaches of all time. He has to win a couple more Super Bowls in order for him to be in that category. I'm just being real. One of the greatest Saints coach of all time? Yes, absolutely. I feel like if he has a couple more winning seasons, he'll end up going to the Hall of Fame anyway, because of the career of Drew Brees. I mean, you can't talk about Drew Brees' career without mentioning Sean Payton. But what will make Sean Payton more appealing to the Hall of Fame committee is for him to come out and get a couple more playoff games and possibly another Super Bowl outside of Drew Brees. And I think that will solidify his legacy as a Hall of Fame coach. But being one of the greatest coaches of all time, nah. One of the best offensive innovators of all time, yeah. Okay, do I think in a couple years we're going to be mentioning him like Don Coryell and Bill Walsh and all those kind of guys? Absolutely, because all of those big-time Saints offensive teams they had, the offensive explosions, the greatest show on turf they had back in 2012. So he's definitely going to be up there. And I think it also helps them because, unlike Don Coryell, he actually got a Super Bowl ring, right? So, and if you can get guys like Marty Schottenheimer up into the Hall of Fame, and you could get some of these other guys like Don Coryell in the Hall of Fame, why not Sean Payton? I mean, he's just as great of an offensive innovator as any one of those guys. So, yeah. But it would make him more appealing to the Hall of Fame committee if he was to win another Super Bowl outside of Drew Brees. I think that would solidify him as a Hall of Fame coach. But I think he's on the cusp of winning it. I think he needs to probably a few more winning seasons to make him look a little bit more appealing. TJ, you think Connor makes a comeback? Connor? Refresh my memory. Who is Connor? Refresh my memory. TJ, what we just did our first stop at the FIX HBCU tour at Payne College. Man, it was dope. Yeah, man. The Fix Art HBCU tour is underway right now with King Arthur at Payne College. Man, shouts out to my guy Jacoby Jones. He went to Lane. But anyway, Payne College, man. That was one of the schools that wanted me to come there, like coming out of George Washington Carver High School. I remember I went to a college tour, and actually they sent me some information. They wanted me to attend a school, but that school was a little bit too rich for my blood, and I never heard about them, before. So, man, but shouts out to King Arthur. Bernard says, I see Alvin having a big rushing year since our passing game will be more open. Yeah, I do too. I think you're gonna have a lot of open lanes, and we all know what he can do in small spaces. So imagine that. I think he meant James Conner. I didn't forgot the question. I forgot the question. Is he asking me what I think about? Hold on. Do you think James Conner make a comeback? Well, first off, I don't know what happened with James Conner. First off, I think this guy's a hero already because he beat cancer. So he's already a hero. I mean, honestly, he already made a comeback, the biggest comeback. It's unfortunate that James Conner just has a history of being hurt. He's a guy that when he is on the field, he's extremely productive. But I mean, that's just the role of a Pittsburgh Steelers running back. I mean, those guys get ran down to the ground because Pittsburgh has that reputation of being a hard-nosed, smash-mouth football team. And your running backs are going to get a lot of carries. So, it's unfortunate, man, but I hope that he actually, gets better. I'm rooting for him. Brandon says, hey, what up, TJ? Yeah, it is good that we were able to bring Kwon back. Yeah, it is good. Who that? James Conner has no vision. Is to see why Pittsburgh drafted Najee. I don't want to say he don't have any vision. I mean, he's had some good seasons, man. He had some good seasons. It's like when he starts to get that momentum, he end up getting hurt. So if he stay healthy, man, he can be solid. He's not going to be the best running back, but he'll give a team production. The Eagles going to be trash. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be trash or not. I'm thinking the starters play the second preseason game. More sense is only 3. I think we're going to see quite a bit of those guys because they need to see these guys in real time in order for them to make their decision. TJ, I'm really feeling good about the addition of Poole and Kwon. Poole, same size as Jackrabbit, very aggressive. They need that. You need physicality in the secondary. Can't wait to see the Cowboy versus Steelers Hall of Fame game Thursday. Yeah, I'm just happy football back. Can't say I'm just excited or can't wait to see a Cowboy game, but I'm just happy football back. Tony says the Cowboys defense is trash and will be one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I just think that the Cowboys aren't worth all this attention that they get year after year. I just can't get down with it. And Pelicans Nola says, TJ, you came from Carver High School. I graduated in 1986. You graduated the same year I was born. I was born in 1986. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you for spending your Tuesday night here on the State of the Saints podcast. And make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Previous episodes are available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Also, check us out on social media, on Facebook at The State of the Saints. You can search The State of the Saints on Facebook. And also follow the State of the Saints podcast on Instagram and Twitter at State of Saints on both. And you can also follow me on my personal page on Twitter, which is TJ Jones 8. I'm about 80 followers away from 1,000, which I'm kind of shocked about. I just started that page not too long ago. So thank you all so much for helping my personal page grow on Twitter. I really do appreciate that, man. So thank y'all so much. Hope everybody has a great and productive morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is